what about in regards to when we die then? Do you think it's like reincarnation, or do you think we just go to a choice of where we want to go to, like stay in the realm or reincarnate or go elsewhere? What's your thoughts?
I think it could be all the above, man.
Yeah.
Really, I think a lot of it's your memories and experiences that you've had. So I think that, let's say, for example, you are in the jungle and you've got to find shelter and you've got to find food. You've got to find water. You've got to be able to protect yourself. There's a lot of things in the jungle that want to eat you. So I think it's like that when we leave this physical body.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a new jungle. I mean, the Gnostics and Greeks and many mystery schools and those that study hermetics and mind over matter, if you've heard of I think it's called pleroma, that is what we don't see with our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that we only see a very limited part of the electromagnetic light spectrum. It's less than 0.1%. I think it's like 0.01% for
Mm-hmm.
some, even less. But there's so much out there that we don't see with our physical eyes and hear with our ears because of this antenna. Mm-hmm. And when you interview people like Anthony Peake, which is an incredible scientist that studies far out consciousness, the next level of consciousness, great work. Where was I going with this? I just got 5G'd.
Get your hat on. Yeah, definitely need a hat.
Where was I going with that? Where was I going with that? I had something important to say. The pleroma. Okay, so Anthony Peake, and before him,
Mm-hmm.
talked about the pleroma. So, regardless, higher levels of consciousness. Oh yeah, this is what he said. Our brain acts like an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
But the studies and the science that he has looked into, the cutting edge, is showing that when you have a mind-altering substance and you see these things, like these hallucinations, shrooms as an example, magic shrooms,
Mm-hmm.
that your parts of your brain are shutting off, not turning on.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Parts of your brain are shutting off, not turning on, and you're seeing more. It kind of changes the perception of many scientists' beliefs and many people that aren't scientists believing that, well, it must cause a part of the brain to open up, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the opposite.
Yeah.
So these physical bodies, I would like to say thank you to Gerald Clark and Christa Clark. Gerald passed a couple of days ago. He was a mentor of mine, and even more so than I thought at the time, looking back at it. But we used to do shows regularly. I mean, he was on Leap Project probably over a dozen times. Mm-hmm. Good person, good heart, good soul. And he left way too early, in my opinion. However, did he finish his physical goal, and now he's helping us at another plane? I mean, if anybody's the reincarnation of Lord Thoth, Gerald's up there. And so with that being said, he talks about the meat modem. This is why I brought up Gerald, because he talks mm-hmm. about the meat modem and the human antenna and how we need to align our bodies to be even more in tune with the universe and how we're immortal light beings. That was the last podcast he did on his channel before he passed. Right. I had no idea he was even sick. I thought he was going to live to be 100. Mm-hmm. Vegan, super healthy, but something happened. And last time he was on the show, which was in January, him and Christa and he were on the show. And I did notice he did look a little bit older and a little bit skinnier, but I just thought, hey, he's vegan. Maybe he's not eating as much. And so I wish I would have listened to my inner voice. And that's another thing I got out of that is we all need to listen to our inner voice more. It's that quiet voice that's talking to us. It's like, hey, you need to call up your mom, tell her you love her.
Yeah.
If you got a brother, friend that you haven't heard from in a while, give him a call. Say, hey, how are you doing? Because you might not get that chance. And Gerald and I were going to do another interview, and we rescheduled it, and then I rescheduled the last one, and I feel really guilty about that. But
but anyway, you can't.
It is what it is, man. I wish I could take it back, but He really helped people understand and get out of this like control of religion, I believe, because he was really one of the pioneers in looking at these tablets and translations, and he helped me go to the next level. So I would encourage people that have a chance to listen to this, if you can. Christa Clark, she is going to have to pay for all the expenses now. I mean, she's going to have to deal with all this, and she is dealing with all this. There's a GoFundMe set up for her. If I could leave the link for you to put it on your channel, that would be just wonderful. And also, I think another way we can help support Gerald and the cause is to purchase his books and go to the YouTube channel where he left those videos and watch those videos and watch the videos that he did on Leak Project with me. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do like a 24-hour live stream with all Gerald Clark videos that we've done. And he did a lot with Capricorn Radio. And read his books. He wrote some amazing books. I think there's probably even still a few that are autographed. So that would help a lot. He's got this incredible family lineage thing that you can pull out of the Anunnaki. It's like the bloodline of the Anunnaki. And it's on this really nice vinyl material that's heavy duty. So go to his website, geraldclark77.com, and all that will help out as well, because Christa's got an amazing vegan cooking book. She's got this incredible vegan cooking book. She's got a vegan cooking show. She's got an amazing podcast series as well. And I want to help her continue to grow with that, because I think she could be on the food channel. I mean, she could be the vegan person on the food channel. So we love you, Gerald. We love you, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, top bloke. Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, going back to the Anunnaki then. So what's your take on us as a human beings? And do you think we was actually made by, like obviously there was like some cavemen, and then they like took DNA and then made us, or what's your take on it all?
Well, okay, so the Anunnaki, do you know the definition of Anunnaki is actually sky people. So I think that we have been, as a species, I think that the human body has been manipulated, and I think there's factions that come from space and even here that continue to manipulate the beings that were on this planet by infusing their DNA at times, by mixing up DNAs that are already here. That's my belief based upon the research that I've done. And also, if you look at the big change about 40,000 years ago with the back and your lower back, and talk to chiropractors, they'll tell you the same thing. There's something weird about the lower back. It's as if there was this programming genetically that didn't quite go right. But with that said, look at how many, there was a lot of species intermingling, right? So, and then you've also just got people that are different shapes and different sizes combined with that. So you've got people that are Nordic, that are 7 feet tall. And then you got those that are maybe in the Four Corners area or from South America that are 5 feet tall. So they're looking at somebody from the Nordic countries and saying, "You're a giant, man. How would it be any different back then?" And then, so what if a Nordic falls in love with a Nordic guy falls in love with a gal from South America and she's 5 foot tall? Well, now she married a giant and then they have a kid. And, maybe their back is a little bit different because there's so many different variables in this. And I do believe the possibility, though, if you study H.P. Blavatsky, she was one of my very favorites of all time. I mean, the work that she did, The Secret Doctrine, you could study that for a lifetime. She talked about the initial 7. Well, first there were light beings that came down, and then they left, and then something else happened, and then there were 7 different species on the planet, and then the 7 species started to intermingle, and things changed along the way. But each species on this planet is connected to another planet in our solar system, which is interesting, the way that she decodes that. So that makes you, boom, I just had an epiphany, dude. Boom. If we were seated here, these species could say, let's take beings from these other planets that maybe they can't live there now because of these astronomical events that are written about in astral theology and the scriptures by the gods and goddesses in the battles. So they take these species and this DNA and they plant them here. in these bodies because they can grow here because of the way that everything is set for this life form.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Now I understand it. That's wow.
That's
wow.
Well, there you go. That's why we're here.
Hello.
Yeah, that's it. Making things
HP
happen.
Blavatsky, right on, man. That makes sense. Now I get it. And I had Bruce Fenton on yesterday. He just wrote a book called Exogenesis. You need to get him on your program.
Yeah, I saw that.
We were talking, man, about this seeding of our species. And did you know they found these weird metallic orbs that were oozing goo in the stratosphere?
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that could actually be something that seeded life on this planet. Now, I'm not convinced of that. I think it's a great hypothesis right now. I definitely think that it's doing something. But I think there's got to be a lot more to it. And he probably does too. But, he is smart. Bruce is a super smart guy. I can't wait to get his book. But that was a really good interview that we did because that makes you question this whole narrative about the solar system, right? And the seeding of the seeding of planets and the seeding of life. And you look at all these abduction encounters and research that, and the ones that really are legit, in my opinion. Well, why do these beings that have all these technologies need to take DNA? You question that, right? Like, why do they need to come here? Why would a type 2 civilization that can harness more power than a star need to come here and get somebody's DNA? It just doesn't make sense. Why would they need to come here to get gold? Well, first of all, I don't think a type 2 civilization would need to come here to harvest gold by genetically modifying us. Maybe, I don't know. That's kind of speculation or is it? I don't know. Maybe science can show you that if you can harness the power of a star, then you can turn certain elements into gold or use things. I don't know. I still think that there's some assumption there. With that being said, I would more likely see it being a civilization that's kind of like us, that has some incredible technologies. And there's a lot of technologies that we have as a species that publicly most don't know about, right? There's probably stuff out there that can travel through the solar system at extremely fast speeds that we don't know about. There's probably technologies that can regenerate DNA that we don't know about. I don't know, because we're subject to what the news and what the media tells us. We're subject to what we hear about. So most of the scientists and the news and the media, if you follow the money trail, there's a select group of bloodlines that control the majority of that, and they have certain agendas. So when an amazing technology comes out and they're funding that technology and it's going to interfere with them and their money and their hegemony, will they then take that technology and say, if you talk about this, we're going to pull your funding? I don't know, but I've heard about stuff like that before, and it's certainly things we need to question. And do we need to even question it, or do we pretty much know?
Yeah. Have you obviously you said that you felt like you seen insectoids when you was a kid?
I don't know what they were, man. That's just the best way that I can compare it, because I was so little. I mean, I was in, it was the first house that we lived in. I was in the crib, and I know it was the first house that we lived in because the first house that we lived in, right out of my room, there was stairs that went down. And so I was less than 2 years old by the time we moved out of our first house. And the experience that I remember, I vividly explained the room to my dad to a T. And just recently even, and he's like, yep, that was our first house. So when I just remember these things looking at me in the crib, right? And I just remember growing up my whole life, I thought that we had life-size Star Wars figures or something. And the best way for me to describe it was those beings in the film Return of the Jedi, where there's the Jabba the Hutt scene, and there's these insects that are playing instruments. There's one playing like a flute, and there's one that's playing like That's what my mind connected it to. So when I asked my parents, like, did we have life-size Star Wars figures growing up? They're like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I saw something really weird. But my parents are so very like down to earth. They're really calm and really kind of, I don't want to say mainstream, but in some ways they are. So they've never been really like, I drive them kind of nuts, right?
Okay.
They're like, Rex, I love you. And they do. They love me so much, man. We've got a great relationship. I talk to, they're amazing, great relationship. But if we hang out for too much time, because I'm always like, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out. And they're like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. They're a bit like me.
Yeah, man. Oh, geez.
So do you think it's consciousness level? Do you think because some people can't wake up because it's a consciousness level, or do you think it's just not their time
that's
yet?
One of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons, but I don't think for everybody. I think some people, maybe they've done what we're doing now before, right? Now they're just like, dude, I don't mean in this lifetime. I mean like past lifetimes. So now they just want to coast, or they just want to chill. They just want to kind of go with the flow. They don't want to be in the way. So I get that. And I used to really be like another thing. So do you have a friend, or you ever talk to somebody that maybe isn't even a friend or a family member, and they're always telling you about something you just don't want to hear about?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. Some people are they'd rather talk about football. They'd rather talk about the latest sitcom, or how that one chick that has a really big butt tweeted it on Twitter and said she didn't get lipo. I don't know. That's what people are into. Did you read that tweet? Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. They need to be imprisoned.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
No free speech anymore. It should all be, yes. You do not have a right of free speech. It's called fee speech. It's not the home of the brave. It's the home of the slave. Get with the program, Rex.
Absolutely.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
Cute dog, man. We need to use that on the thumbnail so you'll get a million views. Because for some reason, the puppy videos, they get 1 million views. Cats with a cucumber, 10 million views.
Or lady with a Chewbacca mask.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Oh, it's amazing.
That probably got 100 million views.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's just holding a dog with a...
Yeah. She gets the Chewbacca mask and she puts it on and she's laughing at herself in a car.
Naturally. Okay, here we go. So, yes! Now watch when my mouth actually moves. That's not me making that noise, it's the mask! Here, listen.
And it's just, yeah. Basically, I think sometimes we're living towards a idiocracy. If you've seen the film Idiocracy.
Well, the classic, yeah. Where the average IQ is like 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Brilliance. They're driving around in like Walmart go-karts everywhere they go. They weigh 350 pounds. Oh, man. Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all 5 foot tall.
Oh, yeah. That's the kind of thing
you can see the bacon grease coming out of their pores, and they're like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, it is that way, isn't it, unfortunately?
Dude, go back 50 years and look at a photograph of people in a crowd, in a group, and look at people now, for the most part. Like, you've got, well, here's the thing, too. I've also noticed there's those that are even more extreme now, like these bodybuilders that look like they could rip doors off of tanks, and they probably could. Like, here's the thing. Your heart has to keep up with all that. So when you weigh 400 pounds and you're pure muscle, like, now your heart's beating, so it's like, where do we find that? Is there a way that you could increase the size of the heart too without like screwing you up? I don't know, man. I just, some of these people are, I'm talking about stuff I don't even know about. So we're just blabbing. Yeah. I'm obviously not a bodybuilder, so.
He must be
intense, man.
He must be with me. Oh, yeah. There you go. You can.
Hey, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
good for views.
Yeah. So, in regards to DNA, then, junk DNA, what's your take on the junk DNA? Because we talked about DNA, and do you think junk DNA is
I think it's code that we don't understand. It's code that could be, I mean, what if it's code from past lives? What if it's code from your ancestors? I think it could be absolutely code that could connect to past lives somehow, some way, or your relatives in some way. And I think there's a way to actually take the DNA and convert it into watching it on the screen. Like, so you could take people's experiences, life experiences, how they felt, what they saw, what they heard, all of that. Kind of like a life review. I think that entities, there's probably certain beings out there, maybe even we can do this at some levels or some laboratory. You take the DNA, you upload it in a computer of some type, and it then converts that. I just had another idea. Biological computers combined with silicone or whatever synthetic structure. You have a combination of biology, and then see if you could take somebody's DNA and somehow connect it to this new interface. And then it could take that DNA and it could replay the experiences that it encoded during. So you want, like, let's say you wanted to crack a code or crack a case, right? Instead of taking the DNA and saying, oh, it's that person, you do that too. But now you're saying, okay, this is who it is. And now we can watch what they did.
Yeah. Get you.
And maybe some of these abduction experiences, these entities have those technologies where they can upload the consciousness in a fractal of the consciousness.
Got you.
The senses.
Hey, we're making waves today, Rex.
Yeah, bro. This is good. We need to do this.
Well, you are anyway. I'm just listening.
You're asking the right questions. You're getting me going, man. You're letting me talk, which is nice. I appreciate that.
Oh, no, anytime, mate. Anytime. So,
and I think the C60 Purple Power and the Super T and the Boomer Boost and Gladiator Bar, all that stuff's helping a little too.
It all helps, isn't it? Yeah. I just got my usual regular instant coffee.
Oh,
it's not good.
So good.
It's not like I prefer filter.
We got to get you off that, man. You're mixing up lead in that. You're like, oh, I got me a nice dose of some lead coffee today.
Oh, yeah.
Really good, I promise.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in it, but it tastes kind of like coffee. Now, there is a cool thing you can do with instant coffee, though. You take the powder, right, and then you put in a little bit of sugar, like a scoop of sugar, and just a couple of drops of hot water. It's got to be boiling water, but put a couple of drops out, just mix it up real quick, and you keep doing that. And then you've got like this nice froth that comes up. And it's a specialty coffee drink. That is good with instant coffee if you do it that way.
Okay, I'll try that out.
Try that.
Thank you, Rog. I will.
I love that. So do you like sugar in your coffee?
A little bit, yeah. One spoon.
Good. So put one spoonful in there with your spoonful of instant, right? And then kind of mix that together. And then, like I said, just put a couple of drops of hot water while you're doing it. Mix it real quick, and you'll get this like paste that'll build up. And then once you get the paste, then you put a little bit more water in it, and then it turns into like froth, a little bit more, and it's like nice and frothy, dude.
Okay.
I have a Russian friend that taught me that when I used to sell timeshare. I attempted to sell timeshare. I was like barely making it every month. They're like, Rex, you've got to get one more deal or you got to go. I'm like, gosh. Can I please sell trial plans? I did really good at that. That was fun, man. That was fun. You can just try it, dude. You try it. You like it. It's cool. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. No maintenance fees. You're good. Like, okay. Will you get me out of here quick? Oh, that worked a lot. They're like, dude, you just get me out of here. I'll sign it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I got a good friend out there that you should connect with and maybe even interview. His name's Julian. And he has a company out there where they do like decals and wraps and all sorts of local stuff. And he's in the UK. And he is also the architect of tinfoilcap.co. So
okay.
And
like,
he'll probably send you a hat.
Okay. Yeah.
He'll probably send you a hat. I think you should, because he's not too far from you, and you can get it. We've got all sorts from the Stealth to the McFly, and I'd like to get you a hat. So I'd like to get you a hat. We should hook up with him.
I'll get it. I'll sort it out. No worries. That's great. Thank you. Okay. One good question then for you. So if you had a time machine, you could travel anywhere, anytime. Where'd you go and why?
Ooh, anywhere, anytime, huh?
Yeah. Future, back, even.
Think about that. I don't think I'd go. Well, it'd be neat to go to the future because then you could be like, okay, I know what to invest in now.
Mhm.
But and then you could do a lot of interesting things with the money you could make with that. So I would consider that. But you know what? I think I'd want to go back and
Yeah.
see the Anunnaki. I'd want to
Yeah.
go back and see Enki. I would want to see the council, and I'd want to see Lord Thoth. I'd want to see these amazing gods and deities that literally had the capabilities to move things with their mind. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these megaliths, they could have made without any equipment. They could have used the DNA connecting to the capabilities and the sounds that they could create and the vibrational frequencies that they emitted. They could mold, they could sculpt, they could make rock hard or soft, and they didn't need. We look at some of the headdresses and the technologies that they have in the hieroglyphics, and I think we really need to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shapes.
Yeah, definitely. I watched recently Stargate. The original Stargate.
Oh yeah.
It definitely opened my eyes again because I've not seen it for a long time, and I thought, yeah, my older self now recognizes so much stuff than my younger self, and it's like, yeah, my mind is blown on that film. It's a good film.
I would like to see a remake,
Mm-hmm.
like a new edition, right?
Yeah.
With better special effects, and because with the special effects now, man, they could do some really good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And bring the script, bring the same people. Don't make it all, man. That one conglomerate, I don't need to say their name, but they're the biggest conglomerate of movies right now. They killed Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars, dude. One of the best series of all time. And the last one was so bad, so canned, so scripted that I didn't even finish it. I made it halfway through and I wanted to turn it off before that. I was really disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of them listening to the people that are actually watching the movies, they attack the people that are watching the movies saying, you shouldn't think that. No, you need to think the way that we do.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't. We're watching your movie, dumbass. Get a clue.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Or they won't.
As soon as the Jar Jar Binks came on, that was it. I was off on that one. It was terrible.
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks was terrible too, man. Absolutely terrible. And I still was able to watch that whole movie.
Yeah. Okay.
And the movie, I mean, first of all, the movie was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And I think by the end of that run, like the second run that they did, the last one was pretty good. Of course, it wasn't nearly as good as the original three. But then the last few that they've made, I really liked the first two, actually. I really did. I thought they were great. But for some reason, I don't know if they just got so big and they got all these projects. And they think that they, because of the people that are obviously, I mean, you look at the money that some of these films are bringing in, they're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing something right. But then you can also see the numbers on the Star Wars stuff, and they're not doing something right there. And people were giving Solo a bad time. Solo was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I mean, would you want to watch this guy that's kind of like, he's kind of cocky, he's exciting, and he's fun, and but he's a real person, and there's some fun comedy in there and some cool characters, and it just seems to go together. Or do you want to watch somebody that is completely left-wing agenda driven? And first of all, I don't care what side, like if you're left or right, or I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat or independent. That's awesome. I don't care. But what are you doing as a person? And then do you get to a point where you're like a fundamentalist person where you're actually you're so much one-sided that you're almost crazy, or that you're kind of retarded. And when I say that word, I mean it as in slow. You look up the definition. You're retarded.
Yeah.
You're slow. I don't mean it as like a mental handicap.
I know.
I know, but most people are like, Rex, you said retarded.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
I know, but I was going to like George Carlin on that. The words are okay. They have no, like racist words you can use. The words themselves are actually innocent. It's the racist person that's using them.
Right. It's the way that you present it. However, with that said, you've got people that are so ignorant that they don't get that.
Yeah.
But what is interesting is that's one thing I studied, and you're absolutely right. So with studies that I've researched, when you say something, the word itself means about 7%.
Mm-hmm.
The majority, I think it was like 50 something percent is what is the body language. The majority of an interaction you have with somebody is the body language.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the tonality, and then it's the word.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, F you, bro. I'm just,
yeah.
versus, versus, I love you, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
Love you. Ugh. So,
yeah.
And that's pretty interesting, because a lot of people subconsciously, they're picking stuff up and they're filtering it out. So I think that's important to watch people's body language as well. That's another thing that I studied. I was really into, I picked up a book that the FBI reads, and these detectives about body language, right? When I was working for that company, because I could just watch somebody while they're waiting to get seated or, whatever. And just based upon the way that they're sitting, or if it's in their ear, kind of got their, hand around their throat. And then I started to study eye movements. Like if your eyes are up and to the left, up and to the right, down and to the right, and what that typically means percentage wise. But there's still variables. Like if somebody looks up and to the left, that doesn't mean that they are seeing something they've seen before necessarily. I mean, they might be left-handed, and it could be the opposite. So
okay, got it.
There's a lot going on there, and
mm-hmm.
But it's fun. It's fun to learn, and that's why I think we're here, is to learn and build these experiences. And these experiences we can take with us to the next level. And these experiences will help others if we follow the right path. And if we follow our heart and what we've been designed to do, I think that there is no limit except for what we decided that limit to be. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So do you think in the way we're going as a human race, do you think we're going, which direction do you think we are going towards? Do you think we're going towards it could be anywhere? Yeah.
I think that some of us are going and evolving, and I think that some of us are devolving. I think that, see, here's the thing. We're in a duality, right? So for as much darkness, there's got to be a counterbalance. As much light, there's got to be a counterbalance. However, think about this. You light a match in a large, dark room. It's going to light up that room, or a large part of that room, right? Just that little tiny match. So the 3 to 5%, maybe 7%, let's just say 5%, we have to make up for the other 45% just to keep balance. So to have a 50-50 situation here, now we've got to pick up the slack, because there's so much confusion and control and mind programming for an agenda that has a cataclysmic end.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to realize that and either pick up the pace ourselves or get that other 45% that should be on this side, because they're kind of floating right now, floating. We need to get some more of them over to being awake. If we could create a 10% global consciousness if we had 10% thinking the way that we think, for the most part, just as far as seeing through the veil of deceit and seeing how media and people and these very powerful politicians can use words to manipulate you and influence you and get you to do things that have their agenda at heart. And if we can see that at 10%, man, could you imagine? Could you imagine if everybody in the United States, or if everybody in the United Kingdom, or if everybody in Mexico or Ethiopia, or everybody around the world, or just 10% of everybody around the world did not watch a single mainstream news piece, did not read a single tweet that was political or connected to doom? If you do that for 30 days, you'll see probably the biggest shift and the biggest change you've ever experienced in your life. I would be willing to bet on that.
We need to start that going then, Rex, don't we? We need to start getting that knowledge out there. Just 30-day trial.
30-day challenge. Yeah, take the 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
Or you can take the ice bucket challenge.
Hey, look what I can do. It's an ice bucket. I got 10 million views, sucker. How many you got? 10,000?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so
Let's
easy.
take the Tide Pod challenge.
No, don't do it. You're an
I know.
idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, what is wrong with people?
I know. It's the same with, like, sorry to say, I mean, this 8 o'clock on a Thursday, clapping for the NHS, the nurses and doctors. It's programming for me. I mean,
Totally.
I've had issues with my legs from day one with spina bifida. I got problems with my legs. But, I mean, I love the nurses and doctors. I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't nurses and doctors. But
Right.
I'm not going to go out there and start clapping for that.
Exactly, because they're pretty much pushing the agenda of the MFers.
Yeah.
I don't need to say this, but there's certain organizations out there that are huge conglomerates that are supposed to be there to help people and protect their health. But for some reason, it seems like by doing that, they want to promote something that you put in your body that has a multitude of adjuvants. And it seems to me like they're more of a business.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to leave it at that. I hope that's cryptic enough.
It's definitely not. It's definitely my knowledge.
I hope that's Did I tippy toe enough for that?
Yeah, I think
For
so.
entertainment purposes only enough. Remember, this is just entertainment. This is just a live action role playing game.
Exactly.
Anything that we say is just a coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
They love us, dude. They love us so much.
Sorry, I'm going to put the dog down.
Oh, you're good. You're good. We should get you some C60, man. I'll bet you'd love that. That stuff is amazing.
C60, yeah?
C60, yeah. C60 Purple Power. I'm good friends with Ken. We're going to have him on the show again soon. I've been taking this stuff now for months, and I love it. Love it.
What's the taste of? What's the taste of? What's the taste of?
The taste, well, I've got avocado oil. I mean, it just tastes like avocado oil. And then I've got where's the other stuff? Not the olive oil, it's coconut oil. And I think the coconut oil tastes good too. Coconut oil is fine. It's kind of mild. And then you can get it in olive oil. I don't like the taste quite as much in the olive oil. I like it more in the avocado or in the coconut.
What's the benefits of it though, Rex?
What's that?
What's the benefits of it?
Oh man. Okay, so its antioxidant properties are hundreds of times greater than vitamin C. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants in the world from the research that I have done, if not the most. It's called carbon. It's carbon 60. Buck Fulminster is the gentleman that invented it. And if you read these different white papers where they were feeding these mice what they thought would be toxic levels of this stuff, and it was actually increasing their lifespans. NASA bought a bunch of it. I think they're going to use it with some of their space programs because it's also like it helps protect from radiation. And it's made by like stars, and you can also make it in laboratories, but it's a real difficult process. If anybody tells you it's charcoal, it's not. There's like a tiny, not even a percent of that in charcoal. It's not even 1%. It's such a minute amount. But there's some people out there that are selling it, and it's like cheap knockoff stuff. If you're getting it, make sure you're actually paying for it, because otherwise, because it costs more money per gram or by weight than gold does. The C60 itself. Wow. So like if you buy a bottle of C60 though, I mean, it's only a percentage of C60 and then the rest is going to be the compound. But if you get it and it's cheap and you're looking at the color of it, you also want to look at the color of it as well. So if you get it in like coconut or you get it in avocado, you want to make sure it's got like a purplish tint to it, like a purplish color to it. Otherwise, I would definitely question it.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. I'll get some of that, definitely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can get Ken to hook you up from C60. I'll see if I can get Ken from C60 Purple Power to hook you up.
Yes, please. Yeah, they're lovely. Yeah. I just wanted to show you something before we go, Rex. Can I just show you something?
Yeah, please, bro. Let's check it out. Oh, dude, that's awesome. Oh, yeah, look at that. Hold on. talk and show that at the same time.
So this is a picture from Lloyd Canning, an artist that's in the UK, and basically this is my birthday. It was my birthday in April, and my mum gave me money, and I bought this picture. Yeah, so
I love that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. So that's from Lloyd. Yeah, Lloyd
Was it
Canning.
420?
Huh?
Is your birthday 420?
420. Yeah, my birthday is 16th of April.
Okay, I was off by a few days.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So
It's
that
always
was
420 out here in the Rocky Mountains.
Yours on the 20th.
I said it's always 420 here in Colorado.
All right.
In the Rocky Mountains. That's a special number to us Coloradoans here, you know.
Oh,
in the
right.
high.
Yeah, there's always numerology. I keep seeing the 33 around. Every time I notice in 33. I don't know why.
Oh, that's a good number. The triad, that's the apex number. That's a good sign for you, I would think.
Yeah, I just keep noticing it. What about yourself? What do you notice all the time? Do you recognize numbers certain times?
The past few weeks, 1111 has been beyond abundant.
And what's the meaning of that?
So there's a multitude of possible meanings. However, I really like the one I got from Anthony Peake recently. Anthony Peake, when I interviewed him, was describing 1111. And what was interesting is that interview was several days ago, but before I interviewed him, the night before, I went to bed at 11:11. I looked at the clock again at 11:33. I uploaded the video before him that was, I think, 33 minutes and 11 seconds. It showed on YouTube as 33 minutes and 12, but on the raw file, it was 33:11. And all those synchronicities happened, and then I interviewed Anthony, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd been seeing 11:11 for a lot the past week before we interviewed. And he brought up the 11:11 thing without, I don't even think I brought it up. He brought it up in this interview and described how it means like almost like Groundhog Day, right? Okay. And we're talking about our higher selves, our guardian angel, our holy guardian angel, our daemon, not the demon, but the daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, completely different from the demon. I was reading some comments where these people, they're ignorant. And when I say ignorant, they're just uninformed. I don't mean anything rude by that. They're just uninformed. They're like, daemon and the demon are the same thing. And they were making some very derogatory comments. No, they're not even close. There's a reason it's spelled different. And if you look at the translations of daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, that goes back to Greek. So you could look at the daemon now as your guardian angel if you believe you have a guardian angel, or your higher self if you don't believe your guardian angel is your higher self. Maybe you don't believe you have a higher self. I don't know. That's fine. I believe I do. I believe you do. I believe most of us do. And we were talking about the daemon, and why am I talking about this?
It was one about 11:11.
Yes, 11:11. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Dude, get that 5G van out of here. Hold on a second. Okay, much better. 5G blocker, we're good. Get out of here, man. Quit 5G and me. All right, so he brought up 11:11, and he brought up how it's like our higher self or our daemon saying, you know, you've done this before. And he talked about the science behind it. And at the primordial level, when you're looking at something in the field, you see somebody standing up, you got to go back and listen to that part of the interview to understand it. I can't describe it better than I can't describe it right now. But it was essentially the 11:11 is like a Groundhog Day reincarnation thing. He thinks we might be more likely to be reincarnated into this life until we get it right, instead of being reincarnated into another body.
Right.
And having your mind wiped, right? So if we keep coming back here, like Groundhog Day, and that's the deja vu experience that we get, where we have that deja vu. Oh, we've done this before. Well, is it going to get to a point where, like in Groundhog Day, once we get it right, then we can graduate? Well, that 11:11 might be our higher self saying, hey, you've done this before, you know, almost like deja vu. And I love that theory. That was great.
Yeah. No, we've had Anthony Peake on as well, and he's an amazing guy. He's such a just reel off stuff. No books in front of him or anything. Just amazing guy. And it's just a lovely guy to talk to as well.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I interviewed him the first time 10 years ago, before I even had Lead Project.
Yeah.
I interviewed him on a roundtable on this old website called Godlike Productions. I used to go on there and blog all the time. And then that's kind of how I got into podcasting, because they had this video chat where you could go, not video chat, audio chat. You go in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I used to get in there and I just rant, like I just talk about stuff that's going on. And finally, they had this weekly thing where they would have guests on, and they asked if I wanted to do a roundtable with them. And I was like, yeah. And I did really good at it. We interviewed a lot of people, and Anthony Carr was one of those interviews we did. And, it's unfortunate because the gal that put that together, we kind of butted heads a little bit and went our separate ways. And it's unfortunate because we were really close before that. And she kind of helped me, I feel, get my feet wet, because there was a while there that she was booking on a nightly basis, and I was doing the majority of these interviews, and it started off kind of as a roundtable, but then I started to kind of do more interviews and stuff, and I think I got a little bit, I think my head got a little bit big, because I was doing a lot of the work and stuff, so I kind of wanted, I don't know how to put it, I was younger. It was 10 years ago, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing most of these podcasts, and you want to talk about this and that. And it just kind of ended up being something that was unfortunate, because we were both pretty close at the time, and we both had the right reasons, the right causes, and you could probably see things from both of our perspectives. But I'd like to get back a hold of her, because she's a cool person, and actually that's a really interesting website. It has a lot of trolling, which I don't like. It has a lot of polls of ticks, which is politics stuff that I'm not into. And I am going to take the 30-day challenge. So it'd be hard to take the 30-day challenge and go read a forum that all they talk about is, or a lot of what they talk about is stuff that you're not supposed to read about for 30 days. But that site kind of took me to a different, 10 years ago, when I'm reading all this stuff and all this new information and reading all these blogs and blogging about all this stuff, it was very interesting. But at that point I got kind of hooked, and I'm looking back, I got kind of hooked in the conspiracy thing, right? Like where I was actually getting excited to read about the next doom and gloom experience. I'm like, oh, what's doomy going to be today? What doom do we have to read about today? And it's because it's almost like a drug, if you think about it, right? Because your body produces certain emotions and chemical responses when you read about something. Your adrenaline might get going, you might get nervous or excited or whatever. And so I would kind of go on the regurgitator, the repeater side, right. Even though I was so like, actually what's interesting, because I can go back and I can look at some of these blogs that I did 10 years ago, and dude, the stuff that I said was happening then, it's going on right now. I mean, I was talking about stuff back then that the mainstream that's supposed to be, and even cutting edge stuff is barely talking about. But they're confirming about stuff that I was talking about 10 years ago. But there were also those things where I was just kind of on the extreme side, like, oh no, Fukushima, the end of the world's going to happen. We're all going to die. I'm freaking out. I'm calling my parents. I'm like, hey, you guys, you need to be careful, because Fukushima. And because of that, dude, I actually kind of alienated myself from my family. Right. I said some things that I regret because I thought I knew what I was talking about, because I didn't do enough research. So I'm still paying for that. Yeah. And that's with my own family, bro. And that's one thing that I want to help others with. If you're kind of where I was 10 years ago, where you're like, all extreme on one side, and yeah, there may be some stuff right there, but you're missing out on the much bigger picture, and you're not helping people by talking to them the way they are. You're kind of pushing them away more. Yeah. Well, that's what I did, so I've learned as much as I can from that, so I can be as balanced now as possible. So I can go deep on the conspiratorial side, and I can also go just as far on the conservative mainstream side, and I can look at all this information, and then oftentimes it's kind of somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I found. Would you agree with that as well? Oftentimes it's kind of in the middle.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I sometimes I'm very good at watching people's eyes as well, like yourself. And if I see their eyes glaze over while I'm talking about something, I'm being like, shut up, Paul. Okay, right. Change subject. Did you see the football the other day? That's what you got to do.
Football.
Yeah.
On a beer, man. Let's go, man.
Or soccer in England.
Yes. Let's go watch some soccer. Soccer's fun to. I mean, those guys are super talented. I mean, they can do stuff that most people can't, man. And it's amazing what they can do. But I'm just not into that anymore. You know, I used to love football too. I used to love watching football and basketball, and I haven't watched football or basketball in 10 years. I didn't even know who won the Super Bowl last year. I don't care. I could care less.
No, me too. Yeah. Apart from the music side of things, I enjoy sometimes the music on Super Bowl. I quite enjoy that bit, but that's the only thing I like about it. But
and the halftime shows where they try and like, you know, get you in some nasty spell, you know, they'll bring on these entertainers that are, you know, kind of past their prime and, oh, give a nipple slip. Oh, let's Britney kiss Madonna. Oh, that's so attractive. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean. Yeah, but it's getting very occultish in the videos these days, and I've tried to like, turn it off again. It's just too dark. The music's too dark.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But,
well, man, this has been awesome, dude. I appreciate it.
We've had to wrap up, but Rex.
Thanks for listening to my rant.
Hey, believe me, Ray, Rex has been brilliant. Thank you so much. You're top man. I love the.
Let's do this again.
Yeah.
Let's do this again.
Can we? Okay. Yes, please. Yes.
Cool.
We'll wrap up there, Rex. But thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Cheers,
All
brother.
the best.